Good afternoon and welcome back to the Daughter Arise channel. My name is Yvonne Ellis and I'm founder and director of an organisation based in Brixton, South London in the UK called Daughter Arise. I set up Daughter Arise in 2011 to support and help survivors who had been through sexual abuse like myself, to help them to go forward to make life changes and to help build self-esteem and confidence through a variety of different activities. So it's been a little while since I've done a video on this channel. Lots has been going on for me in my personal life. Stuff to do with my new company that I have been setting up called Yumi Empowerment, which is about empowering people to make lifelong changes that they want in their lives. And also, well, I had some personal stuff to deal with. But a couple of weeks ago, I went on and did a project. I went and participated in a project that I want to talk to you about. And I want to share my experience with you because I believe it's something that if you are somebody who has been through sexual abuse, who never had their voice heard, who wants to say something, I believe that what I share about this project might be something that you might find interesting. So I participated in the Truth Project, and the Truth Project is part of the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. The Truth Project was set up in 2015 as a pilot, and it was set up to hear and learn from experiences of victims and survivors of child sexual abuse in the UK, in England and Wales. Now, they use the terminology victims and survivors because they wanted to respect what each individual classified themselves as. Now, somebody like myself, I would classify myself as not, I'm just Yvonne, but if they were to put me in that kind of box, I would say that I'm a survivor, thriver, not somebody who's just survived what I've been through. I've actually gone on to lead a relatively successful life. And what I mean by success is how I've determined the choices that I've made to do with my life to better myself, as somebody who's thriving. Other people refer to themselves as just somebody who survived what they've been through. And, you know, to go through sexual abuse anyway, in order to just be here and survive it, is in itself a huge achievement. Because as we know, many people, you know, do end up doing, you know, taking their own life. And these are common facts, or, you know, aren't able to have the life that they want. So some people class themselves as survivors. Other people still do see themselves as a victim, because we've all been victims of a crime, but they see themselves as a victim. So in order to honour the terminology each person would describe themselves as in terms of their experience of sexual abuse, they use the terms victims or survivors. The Truth Project, which is part of the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, forms one of three strands of this inquiry. So we have the public hearings, which is one part, and we have the Truth Project, which hears and learns from the experiences of those who were victims or survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And then we have the research and analysis part. So these three make up the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. And it was set up to basically investigate whether organisations, institutions, public bodies which dealt with children took seriously their responsibility of safeguarding children from child sexual abuse, and also as well to make recommendations for change. So this is what the inquiry entails, and, you know, this is what they want to do with the information they get from each part of the inquiry. So I wanted to share with you, before I share my experience of taking part in the Truth Project and how I came to take part in it, some quick facts and some quick information that I found. Now, the information that I'm sharing with you here is from the October 2017 report from the Truth Project, from when they started in 2015 up until now. They talk about, you know, the different ways they've spoken to survivors, what they found, you know, about, you know, ethnicity, percentages of who's taken part in it, All this information is in their first published report, which, as I said, was published in October 2017. And this is where I found some of the information to do with these facts and statistics that I am going to share with you. So since they did the pilot in 2015, then July 2016 they rolled out the Truth Project to do the private sessions. Now there's about 4 different ways that they give to anybody that wants to take part in the Truth Project. It could be by phone, it could be that you write a letter, by email, or the face-to-face, which is the private sessions. And that is the option that I chose to go for, because I just felt that I wanted to be able to look the person in the eye and tell them about my experience. So they're talking about the private health sessions since July 2016. They have held 482 sessions this far, with more scheduled. 180 victims and survivors, besides those 480, decided to write in about their experience, to put their experience in writing. Now the data that they are getting this information from, in terms of the report, is based on 249 private sessions that were carried out face to face. And these took place between June 2016 to October 2017, to June 2017. So it's over a 1 year span, these 49 sessions. Of those that attended who shared their experience, 53% of those were male, 47% were female, 0.8% identified themselves as other. The age range was between 23 to 80 years old, and the average age was 54 years old. Now this statistic for me was a shock, and really represents why there is so much more work needed to be done within the BME and communities, because according to their statistics, based upon the 249 sessions that was taken as part of this report, this research, only 93% of the participants were white. And I think we should talk about that. I know from my work that I do with Daughter Arise, and I have been doing for many years. As I said, this organisation, I've been doing this work as part of a support organisation for nearly 7 years. That is not including the friends, relatives, people that I've met out and about when I've done leafleting in various different places, Brixton, Clapham, Wandsworth. A lot of the people that I talk to are of Black and Asian descent, of Black and Asian heritage. And, you know, I'm talking like 1 in every 3 leaflets I'd be giving out, somebody would say to me that they've been through sexual abuse. Even last year when we did the testimony to the street event, where I shared my story on the streets of Brixton, the amount of people that came up to us who were there, me and the other 6 volunteers, and shared their stories, a lot of them were from Black and Asian backgrounds. So it is a real shock and surprise to me that 93% of the participants in the Truth Project, 93% out of the 249 were white. And I'm wondering why that is. I'm not sure. I mean, the Truth Project, you know, they've done adverts. I've seen them on bus stops. I've, you know, got to hear about, you know, I follow the IICSA on Twitter. This investigation inquiry has been going on for a number of years, because it was, you know, all brought about because of the whole Jimmy Savile scandal that came about, and other things that came up which made these inquiries, you know, Theresa May was the one that ordered these inquiries all those years ago. So it's not like it's a new thing that the Truth Project has just come out, or that the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse is out here. So I'm not understanding why people from the Black and Asian communities are not coming forward. Now, I understand the cultural kind of dynamics and challenges, as I've shared with you before, about how in black cultures, in Asian cultures, incest, intrafamilial incest goes on a lot. It's not a new phenomena, and basically, um, it is dealt with that, yes, it happens, but it's just accepted as the norm. Now, and it's kind of, I wish there was a way, and it's something I'm going to think about more, that we can get more people to speak up about it. And I understand the challenges. People don't, for the survivor, it's something I shared on my TED talk. For the survivor, there was a huge amount of different challenges, different aspects, different dilemmas that they have to consider if they want to speak out. Now, for somebody like for me, yes, I've lost a lot, but for me, I have gained so much more in being able to speak out about my experience. No, I don't have any contact with my natural family. It's not something I'm bothered about. I've gained so much more because I have freedom, I have peace of mind. I was able to remove myself from the toxicity of that family and then be able to start the journey to healing. And it's something that I share, that I've been on this journey for a long time. So I understand that for people who, for them, it's hard to be able to speak out, especially if it's family members, family acquaintances, people that they know in the church. As I said, loads of people are being abused in the church. There's lots of dilemmas, but with a forum like the Truth Project, as somebody that's been through it, it is a perfect opportunity, if you haven't told anybody, to be able to participate in something that is totally confidential. Meaning that, you could, and they give you, one thing I like about the Truth Project is that they give you loads of different options to try and engage with you as a survivor. So, whether that is the phone, the email, the letter, or the face-to-face sessions. And it can be done confidentially. And they say that at the beginning of their sessions. Even when I made the initial phone call to get involved in the Truth Project, right at the very beginning, the advisor on the phone explained all the processes that it would take, that it was confidential. I could share as much or as little as I wanted to. And this is a real opportunity, if you are a survivor, to take back some power in your hands, because one of the things that does affect you, because you've been violated as a child, because you've had your boundaries so intrusively put upon as a child, is that it de-empowers you. It depowers you. And, you can go through life feeling depowered. Another thing that people struggle with, especially, and I think as well, a huge part of the work needs to be done in raising awareness and education, because for a lot of people, they don't even realise what has happened to them is actually sexual abuse. As I said, some people have grown up with generations and generations of it. The grand's been through it, the mum's been through it, they've been through it, their siblings have been through it, and it's just something that is accepted as a family norm. So again, some people might, obviously they feel something has happened to them, they feel violated by what has happened to them. They're not happy about it, but they don't know what it is that they've actually been through. And I went through that little phase from the age of 9 to 13 because I didn't know anything about sex or about sexual abuse. It's only when Childline came to my school at 13 that I had the name, the vocabulary, the kind of examples of what child sexual abuse was. So I think on both instances, with the awareness, more awareness needs to be raised. And especially done within the Black and Asian communities, about what sexual abuse is and talking about that and what that means. I think a lot more work needs to be done there. And I think part of what the government, as part of this inquiry, because they have said after that, when they've put the statistic of 93% are white, and that they are looking at ways now to try and challenge why and make research why the BME community is not coming forward. I think as part of that, I think in the first instance, more needs to be done with education and awareness. For those that don't really know what's happened to them, but obviously are suffering from what's happening to them. And also as well, it's just for those that do know what's happened to them, you know, maybe you want to put it in your past, but you can't put it in your past. It's affecting your life, your relationships, maybe your mental health. You know, I would say, you know, this is something that could start to give you back your voice, getting involved in the Truth Project. So another interesting fact, and I am going to do a separate video on the report of the Truth Project, because this video is really about me sharing my experience with you. But out of the 56% that did attend the face-to-face private sessions, 37% of those described themselves as having a disability, and a disability that most of the people who in that 37% said they had was mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, and other kind of mental health challenges. The other percentage of those, the 18%, had like mobile dexterity issues and stamina issues. So, you know, it's an interesting statistic, and when they do their research and analysis, I wonder if part of that is going to actually show about, you know, then, you know, if they're going to find any other new information in terms of how sexual abuse affects survivors in the aftermath, because that would be really interesting to hear about. Another key feature for everybody that was involved, for predominantly a lot of participants that were involved in the sessions, 249 sessions, is that grooming and manipulation formed a large part of their abuse. Obviously, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, nobody was talking about grooming and stuff. But with the new, you know, in this day and age, being able to talk about it, and all the stuff that's come up with CSC and other things that have been going on, we are having seen, you know, in the last few years, terminology such as grooming being used. So for a lot of those people, they did recognise that with the terminology that is used to describe grooming in this day and age, that their experience of growing up and being sexually abused did involve grooming. Now, from just a quick glance of these facts that I've come across in the Truth Report, happened to lots of different people. Some people's experience was once, some was over a course of time, they had endured it over a course of time, different age ranges and stuff like that. But I really want to see more Black and Asian people get involved, and anything I can do to help with that, even by sharing this experience, I hope to do that. I phoned a free phone number, I spoke to an advisor. They explained to me what the Truth Project was. They asked me a number of questions. They explained about confidentiality and about the avenues in which I could share my experience. So I opted to share face-to-face. They took my personal details. They explained to me, you know, what it would entail, and that they would get in contact. So from the time that I contacted them to the time that they sent through the form, I would say that was about 3 weeks. When they sent through the form, I just filled it in with my name, details, how I wanted to be referred to. They explained at the very first phone call that I would have a support person, and that person did call me after I sent my form back, and then they sent all the details of, I would say from when I sent my form back to when I had my session, it was about 3-4 weeks. And when I sent my form back, they then said that I would be assigned a support person who would be in contact if I had any questions, and also as well on the day when I went to the actual you know, talk about my experience. So leading up to it, I was fine. You know, the support person called, and she did call about 2 or 3 times, you know, but I have other support as well, so I didn't really feel the need to really rely on her that much. She was going to be there on the day, so that was fine. Leading up to it, I was fine. On the morning, I think I was a little bit kind of nervous about it, and I went up to the place where they said, now these hearings, these private sessions are held in private venues, which they do say to you, you know, you can't divulge the details. And in order to honour the process for other people to come forward, that's not something I'm going to share. But basically, I went to a location. They asked me where I lived and gave a series of different locations, and I opted for a location to go to. On the day I travelled up there, the support worker actually, I did get a little bit lost. The support worker came out and met me outside and walked me in, which I thought was a nice touch, because I was looking for a little while before I went in. So we sat, we had a chat and everything else. She asked me if I had any questions. I kind of started to talk, and she was saying to me to hold on and wait for the lady. And I think they have a professional training background. I know the support person that I had, she had a background of many years working with survivors of rape and child sexual abuse from various different organisations. So she was aware of some of the kind of issues and complexities that could come up from, speaking to somebody who had been through different situations, which I think is very good, because I think in dealing with anybody that's been through these type of issues, you do need somebody who knows how to support and care and be there for that person. So on the actual talk process, the lady came in who was leading it, and she came with somebody who was making notes. Right at the beginning of the session, the lady who was going to be making notes, she explained who she was, why she was making notes, how the information was going to be used. She said I could share as much or as little as I want, that names would be changed if they felt there was something in there that would be useful as a quote or something that they would share with others that would help others to come forward. They asked if they were able to do that and use an anonymous name. I said that was fine. Explained it would be recorded, that I could share as little as much as I want, and that I'd be given an hour and a half. So I spoke, and it was very, I didn't expect myself to be so emotional, actually. But I think in turn, I think part of it was that I realised how far I had come, and I found the process to be empowering. I went along at my own pace. I could take breaks as and when. They had like refreshments, chocolates, Kristen. Not that I had any of that, but they gave you water, tissues, everything you needed to make you feel comfortable in that time. It was a nice little private room, and I was able to just share my experience of what happened to me as a child. I chose to share whatever I had to share, and I went as well because I wanted to be able to relay back this experience to you. If you are in the UK and London and want to get involved, or in Wales or wherever, you want to get involved in the Truth Project, because I think sometimes people have a fear of the unknown. They see it, they think, oh, I'm going to be exposed, what they're going to want to know. But really, the whole process is about you feeling comfortable sharing what you want them to know. And for me, I wanted them to know about my experience, because I want children who are growing up now, and survivors and victims that are coming forward now in this day and age in 2018, to feel empowered and to get the support that they need. No children who grew up in the 80s, 70s, 60s, we never had those experiences as such, but now with everything that is going on, unfortunately, that is Jimmy Savile's legacy, that it's opened up this conversation about sexual abuse, and also because of the damage that he did, has really opened up a lot of doors. We saw lots of people coming forward from children's homes, from being abused by football coaches. It opened up a new wave of survivors coming forward from these different eras to come forward and share their experiences. And I wanted to be part of this. I didn't want to be somebody who said, well, what use is it going to be now? I want to give the Truth Project and the government body, this inquiry, a chance to see what they're really going to do, because I did share that before my interview with the support worker, that what is it they're going to do with this information? Is it going to be another one of these kind of lessons learned, and they learn nothing? They're saying that they want to be able to bring support to survivors and victims and survivors, and reparation. So let's see what they do with it, because really, if this inquiry has been going on for 3.5 years, and they're doing all this, and it's all for well them having these these reports and stuff, and then at the end of it, the recommendations that the panel makes, the inquiry makes to the government, and they do nothing about it, that is going to cause a lot of outrage. That really is, because I honestly believe that at the heart of it, especially when something as simple as little things like just trying to get specialist counselling on the NHS is not available. It's a luck of the draw. If you land with somebody that has that kind of knowledge, then that's good for you as a survivor. Um, because this costs money, and it's not available on the NHS. People who want to get specialised support um, down that channel have to pay, £50 a session maybe for specialised counselling. And if they're going to make these recommendations and they're saying they want to support adult survivors or whatever, it's going to cost them money to do that. So it's really going to be a case of seeing they're going to put their money where their mouth is. Yes, they can strengthen all the other stuff to do with schools, better checks, for people and staff and, lots of different things. But I want to really see how they use this information. So, I did cry. I did find it hard in places. I was really angry. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I called my family the B word, because you know what? I found out information about them that they knew all the time what was going on, and I found this out recently actually. But I'm going to share more when I follow up to my book Daughter Rise. I found out information about them in the last year that they always knew what was going on, and they threw me under the bus. And I think sitting there in that moment and realizing all that my dad had put me through, the horrific abuse, what he did to me, and the journey. I'm 41 now, and I've been on this journey for 32 years. So that shows you how long it has taken to be able to repair and heal from the things that had happened to me, to find and to sit there and to relay in all that and talking about that, and then realizing, as I said in the last year, that there were certain things they knew and they did nothing to help me as a child, made me feel extremely angry. But I wanted to share my experience. They also asked as well, what do I think would have helped me to speak out sooner? They talked, for instance, about the fact that from the age of 9 to 13 years old, I was in school. I went primary school. Why wasn't this picked up by the teachers in primary school? And I gave an example of where one teacher, who I found out about 4 or 5 years ago, was convicted because we were in the same class as two other boys, but he was convicted of sexual abuse of these two boys and another primary school he left because they challenged and investigated it, but no police charges were brought. And this teacher from my primary school then went on to another primary school and sexually abused two more boys. And I was giving them that as a backdrop, that even if they couldn't even detect it right under their nose in the school when they've had people, and we witnessed things with these two boys. This teacher in particular would have these two particular boys, no, three particular boys, two brothers and another boy on his lap during video time on a Friday afternoon, stroking just above their belt, where their belt is, stroking their back, the nape of their back, and things like that. So if they couldn't even recognise that as inappropriate behaviour, what made them think that they'd be able to spot my own abuse? Because I was saying that when I hit and went to school, I would put on a happy face, I would smile, I'd put on a mask, even though I didn't know the terminology of what was happening to me. School for me represented a place where I was really happy. So they were asking what I think that could have made the difference. I don't know, maybe more training for teachers to spot the signs of abuse. I don't really actually know, because the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, sexual abuse wasn't really talked about how it is now, and a lot of the terminology and things they probably had for teachers and resources and stuff probably wasn't even available then. It probably was really a basic safeguarding structure. But I kind of talked a little bit about what I thought might help. I talked about the fact that I didn't get no justice, even though I had physical evidence of actual sexual abuse, and all the professionals involved in my case, the social workers, police, psychologists, doctors, agreed that I had gone through sexual abuse. And also as well because I suffered post-traumatic stress disorder. But yet, because my family helped my dad get rid of the room where the abuse was happening over my nan's house, stripping carpets, getting rid of all this stuff. The CPS said that even though there was actual evidence, it was insufficient without the room. I never understood that, and that is something that I, struggle to understand to this day. But what's done is done, and I just use my experiences to help other people. I think a lot could be learned from my experience, but I also think that a lot could be learned from your experience, from other people's experience, and that is why, if you are in the UK and in London or wherever, that you get involved in the Truth Project, they pay for your travel to get there. You get reimbursed your travel. You get reimbursed your if your food up to a certain amount. They send you all that information in the email anyway. They did say to me that if I gave names, they do have a duty to report it, and if that was okay with me. I did like that at every part of the talk, that they made sure you understood what you were doing, the implications of if you gave names or whatever. And you don't have to give the names. You could talk about the person who's done that to you without giving the name. But they said if you give the name, they had a duty to pass it on to the police, as part of the investigation. So I like that they were able to break down the information. Now, what is meant to happen after the Truth Project, after you have your session, is that you're supposed to have up to 6 weeks of support from the support worker. I must say, I have not, even though I had this session about 6-7 days ago, I have not heard from my support worker yet. And that is concerning to me, because I think that when people have opened up that type of information, and she did say she was going to call, I did check my calls, I didn't see anything. But I think if people are going to share that information, you need to make sure that you're doing what you said that you're going to do, that you're going to call, and you're not going to just leave people open like that, because it's not fair. Not everybody has access to help, like myself, where I could have gone and talked about that afterwards. Not everybody has that. As I said, a lot of people are on waiting lists for counsellors. A lot of people don't have no support or people around them, or can afford specialised counselling. So I really do think that if they're going to offer this, the support worker, they need to make sure that they follow through with that. I mean, and she could still ring, but and I will share if she does ring, but they need to make sure that that is something that is robust and that is there for the person. So after I shared anyway, it was, they thanked me for my time. The recording ended, and the support worker came back in, asked me if I was okay. We sat and talked for a little while, and then I left, and I came home. So that was my experience. Would I recommend it? I think it is up to each person as an individual, but I would say you haven't got anything to lose by taking part in the Truth Project. Everything in terms of what you want to share, how you want to share it, if you want to name names, if everything confidential, it's all in your hands. And as I said, this could be used as a powerful tool for you to share your voice, and say how your experience has affected you, and I think that is important. And I'm concerned that survivors from the BME community are not engaging in this project, and I'm going to take it upon myself now to further ring and see what, if I, as somebody who's a founder of this organisation, could do something in helping to do that, to help them to engage with people, because I think that is really important. And they might have to devise a different kind of way to deal with engaging with people from this community. Maybe they don't respond to adverts like that or whatever. I did. I'm able to respond to things to do with it because of where I am at in my journey. A lot of people are not going to respond like that. So that was my experience at the Truth Project. I found it empowering, and I will wait and see from the next report, the interim report, what they say. And also as well how the recommendations and everything that because we all collectively have a voice, and that is what is important. We need to get our voices out there. I know this video is a little bit longer than usual, but I really wanted to share with you the experience and share with you a little bit of the background, because I feel it's important. For those of us that didn't get justice, for those of us who've never had a voice, this is a chance for us to be able to do it on our terms, without being exposed, without, no one has to know you're even going there. You don't even have to go there. You could do it via email or letter, however you want to do it. It's about empowering you to make a choice to do something, you know. And for some people, that's all the resolution that they need, to be able to get it out and talk to people about it, and then they're able to kind of move on to the next stage. You know, other people need different things. You know, resolution for each victim or survivor comes in different ways. You know, there's no set way that there's no set way that a person overcomes their experience. So thank you for tuning into this video. Please subscribe to this channel. You'll see the symbol in one corner for Daughter Rise, in another corner another video that you may not have seen. And yeah, I will leave a link to the website for the Truth Project for you in the description box below. Check it out. If you have any questions for me, further questions about my experience that I may not have touched upon in the video, contact me at info@daughterarise.org.uk. And also as well, check out the website www.daughterarise.uk if you want to find out what Daughter Rise is about, what we offer. And yeah, I will also leave the book, my link to my book in the description box as well, so you can read about my story, my journey, where I've come from, in order for you, maybe it might encourage you or help you to, you know, move, you know, to get an understanding that you're not alone. And I shall see you in the next video.